Hi COB families! This week we're going to read the story of Noah and the Ark. In the Jesus Storybook Bible by Sally Lloyd-Jones, you'll find this story on page 38, and they've titled it A New Beginning. And Noah's Ark comes from Genesis chapter 6 through 9. Time passed and many people filled the earth. Everyone everywhere had forgotten about God and were only doing bad things all the time. God's heart was filled with pain when he saw what had happened to the world he loved. Everywhere was disease and death and destruction, all the things God hates most. Now Noah was God's friend, which was odd in those days because no one else was. Noah listened to God. He talked to God. He just loved being with God, like you do with your best friend. Noah, God said, things have gone wrong. People have filled my world with hate instead of love. They are destroying themselves and each other and my world. I must stop them. First, we'll build an ark. Do you know how to build an ark? Neither did Noah. Luckily, God knew, and he would show him. A storm is coming, God told Noah, but I will rescue you. I promise. I'll send the animals to you, ones that creep and crawl and slither and slime and gallop and hop and bound and climb. And don't forget to pack everyone's food. The storm was going to wash away all the hate and sadness and everything that had gone wrong and make the world clean again. God had thought up a way to keep Noah safe, but Noah would have to trust God and do exactly what God told him. So Noah built an ark, short for a very large boat. Noah's neighbors came out to watch and point and laugh, but they didn't believe Noah about the boat or the storm or needing to be rescued, and Noah must have looked rather silly. His boat was in the desert. The desert was nowhere near the sea, and there wasn't even a cloud in the sky. Why would anyone need an umbrella, let alone a boat? But Noah didn't mind so much what other people thought. He minded what God thought. So he just did what God told him to do. When the ark was ready, God said, "All aboard!" And Noah's family and all the animals climbed inside. Then God shut the door. And it started raining for minutes that joined up into hours, that joined up into days, that joined up into weeks and weeks. And the rain joined up into puddles, that joined up into rivers, that joined up into lakes, that joined up into a flood that covered the whole world. Their boat had once seemed so big, suddenly seemed very small. But in the middle of the huge storm, in the crashing waves, in all the thunder and lightning, through it all, God was with them. And God kept them safe for 40 long days and 40 long nights. Finally, the rain stopped. The sun came out, and Noah threw open all the windows. "Hooray!" everyone shouted. Noah sent his dove out to explore, and it wasn't long before he brought him back a fresh olive leaf. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. He had found a tree and land. The water was going down. At last, the boat landed quite suddenly on top of a great mountain. As soon as it was safe, God said, "Out you come." And so they did, everyone skipping and dancing onto dry land. The first thing Noah did was to thank God for rescuing them, just as he had promised. And the first thing God did was make another promise. "I won't ever destroy the world again." And like a warrior who puts away his bow and arrow at the end of a great battle, God said, "See, I have hung up my bow in the clouds." And there in the clouds, just where the storm meets the sun, was a beautiful bow made of light. It was a new beginning in God's world. It wasn't long before everything went wrong again, but God wasn't surprised. He knew this would happen. That's why, before the beginning of time, He had another plan, a better plan. A plan not to destroy the world, but to rescue it. A plan to one day send His own Son, the rescuer. God's strong anger against hate and sadness and death would come down once more, but not on His people or His world. No, God's war bow was not pointing down at His people. It was pointing up into the heart of heaven. Our Bible verse for this week that goes along with our story, A New Beginning, comes from Genesis chapter 9, verse 13. It says, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Genesis 9:13. If you're not sure what the word covenant means, which we find right here in our verse, it's just another way of saying promise. So I'm going to write the word promise right underneath the word covenant. So let's read it again, and let's put the word promise in the verse instead of covenant to help us remember that covenant is the same thing as a promise. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the promise between me and the earth. Genesis 9:13. Each age group represented at Church of the Valley has its own activity this week. Our hope, though, is that each activity will help our children remember that God rescued Noah, God keeps His promises, and that God had an even better plan to rescue His people in the future. For our nursery age children, we will be making our own rocking ark filled with animals. You will want to start by coloring in the ark template like this. Then cut out the two colored pieces so you have a bottom and a top for your ark. While you color and cut, take the time to name and count the animals. Next, fold the circle in half and glue the top of the ark with the pair of giraffes over the rectangle labeled for gluing. Now our nursery-age children will have their own ark to rock back and forth while they listen to A New Beginning from the Jesus Storybook Bible. For our preschool-age children, we will be making an ark with marching animals. You will want to start this activity by giving your child plenty of time to color in their craft template. After they have colored, you will want to cut the strip of animals from the top of the page. Next, trim the animal strip so it will fit through the door of the ark. Then mark the length of the strip on the far side of the door before slicing a slit for your animals to enter. Test the opening for your animals and trim any rough edges so it will be easy for your preschooler to pull them in and out. Now show your child how to help get the pairs of animals onto the boat. As each pair goes in, name the animals. 2 elephants, 2 lions, 2 rabbits, and 2 zebras. They can also help you name some other animals that might have been on the ark with Noah. For our elementary children, we have a craft and a crossword puzzle. Let's start with the craft. They will be making this spinning craft to remind them that the rainbow was and is a sign that God keeps His promises. Once your child colors the boat and the circle piece that's half rain and half rainbow, they will want to cut out the two pieces. Using a pair of scissors or a sharpened pencil, they will want to poke a hole through the black circle on the ark and the black circle in the middle of the rainbow and the rain clouds. Next, stack the ark on top of the circle that's half rainbow and half rain clouds, and using the holes that you created with the scissors or a pencil, push a brad through the center, making sure that you open up the brad on the other side. If you don't have a brad, you can just simply poke a pencil through the two pieces before rotating the ark around. This spinning craft is a great tool for elementary children to use when retelling the story of Noah and the ark. When the ark is in the rain, they can talk about why God sent the rain to flood the earth and how long Noah, his family, and the animals were on the ark. When the ark has a rainbow above it, they can talk about God's covenant or promise to Noah and what God's promise was for his future children. Here is a crossword puzzle that the elementary children can do to remember the pieces of our story today. Let's do the first couple questions together. So if we look at 2 across, it says, God put this in the sky. Boston, do you remember what God put in the sky?
Rainbow.
A rainbow, that's right. So we're going to write rainbow in our crossword. All right, next one. We learned this in our Bible verse today. So 3 across. A covenant is a, what do you think, Boston?
Promise.
Promise, that's right. So we're going to write promise right here. All right, let's do some of the down ones. So if we look at 5 down, it says Noah brought these on the ark. What did Noah bring on the ark? Say it again. Say it again, Boston.
Animals.
Animals. So if we go 5 down, we're going to write animals. All right, and let's do 7. 7 down. Who told Noah to build the ark?
God.
That's right. God told Noah to build the ark. So we'll write God right here. All right, you guys work on the ones that we didn't do together to fill in your crossword